Good evening, Gearheads. Welcome to Speed City. We are live from Austin, Texas. Thank you for tuning in for your Sunday night with Speed City. And we are in Austin, the epicenter, the ground zero for Formula One in the United States and many other championships, and now NASCAR at Circuit of the Americas. All right, welcome to the show. Jonathan Green.
Texas, baby.
Austin, Texas, baby. Jonathan Green.
Austin, Texas, baby.
How are you, my friend?
If I was any better, it would hurt.
Les Kaiser's got the night off, taking a little time away, but we got a good show for you tonight. We're going to talk all about mostly Formula One, talk a little NASCAR too, but Formula One, all the car launches this week. We had, how many did we have? We had Mercedes and Alpine on Monday, Aston Martin on Tuesday, Haas on Wednesday, Williams on Friday, and we're going to we're going to start talking about Haas, and then we're going to do a little Red Bull for sure, and so, and a little Ferrari.
Vidania.
Yeah, and
that's the only Russian I know. Oh, Prost. Yeah, Prost is cheers in Russian.
Let me give out the phone number if anybody wants to call and join the show tonight. 512-643-5483, 512-643-LIVE. And Jonathan, you got to go to, speaking of COTA, you spent some time out at COTA for the Super Lap Battle and some other stuff out there this week. And you had, they said it was an awesome event, right?
Yeah, it's a while since I've been out to the Circuit of the Americas, and yeah, it was a beautiful, as you know, Austin's had a beautiful weekend, so there was lots of folks out and about, but all socially distanced and being careful, but the time trials was awesome. I had never been to one. There was a car show, there was drifting, there was time lapse, which is what it's all about, and every kind of car from a Miata to a McLaren. Oh, look.
There you go. Nicely played.
Thank you. And also, rather interesting and rather positive. I mean, you know, poor old Bobby and his team have not had much to smile about in the last year. If you remember, COVID hit at the worst possible time for COTA because it was literally today, a year ago, that we got locked down. And, of course, that meant that the up-and-coming MotoGP that was coming to COTA was immediately cancelled, and of course Formula One was cancelled. So I don't need to tell you what's happened in the pandemic, but the point is there hasn't been a lot to smile about. But one of the things is that events are coming back. You mentioned NASCAR. I'm really looking forward to that, and they're gearing up for that. They were testing this week. Martin Truex Jr. was here, and a few others. But the other big story is COTA had put on a drive-through COVID vaccination center for people qualified to do it, and they have been putting in the numbers. It's a bit of an experiment, but it's the first one done in Central Texas, and I would say the experiment was an almighty success.
Well, and you say it's the first one. There's other big sites, but this one's the first one. Why? Because it's different. It's like these judges and yeah, go ahead.
Yes, it's an independent run by, like you say, 3 county judges here in. It's a combination of between the judges and Ascension Seton, which of course is a partner with COTA anyway. So yeah, so effectively, yes, there are lots of other federally run places that you can go to, but this was all basically in the parking lot by the karting of COTA. And they were able to literally get people to drive through, drive in, get their shot, and go. And they got through about 3,500 yesterday, and they were doing it again today. So there's a good chance that close to 10,000 people could have been vaccinated this weekend.
Oh man, that's awesome. That is fantastic. And man, we're not going to be too long before you, me, and Les are vaccinated. We can get back all 3 in the studio. We're coming up on that.
I don't think they can ever cure. I don't think they can ever cure what I have, though.
Did you hear the producer? No.
I did. Yes. I don't think there is a vaccination for what I got.
Yeah,
that is a true fact.
That is absolutely the truth.
It's
called the mayhem vaccination.
All my life. Well, no, but all my life I've chased cars and dogs. That's cars and bikes. That's all I've done. So I've decided to invest in a dog so I don't feel lonely anymore.
Well, we'll have to see that new puppy if he wakes up. But I want to go straight into Haas F1. I want to go into Haas F1 Formula One broadcast. I mean, launch, livery, and etc. Because it is controversial to say the least. I mean, is there anything that Haas has done in the last few months that hasn't been controversial? It's so the
Yeah,
car,
and it's,
Jonathan. I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, "Hey, it's nice. It's red, white, and blue." And then you quickly reminded me, take a good close look at those colors, and then take a look at the Russian flag.
yeah, it is the Russian flag, frankly. And I don't mean to be rude, but I knew that it would have something like that because their new title sponsor is Nikita Mazepin's father, Dmitry. His company, as you can see it, emblazoned above the Haas logo. Ukareli, I think it is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure, but I'll get better as the season goes on.
Yeah.
And the other one is 1&1, and that is a German telecommunications company, and that will be Mick Schumacher's sponsor. But Ukareli is Mazepin's father's company, and those colors on the wing, on the side of the car, are the Russian flag. And I think it's a big dropping of the ball, frankly, because everybody, look, there's been plenty of Russians in Formula One. We've had S&P, we've had Kvyat, we've had Marussia are owned by Russians. There's been plenty of Russian interest in Formula One, but for an American team to put a Russian flag on an American car, I mean, forget politics. It just doesn't sit right. And what I noticed straight off the bat, because I don't just follow motor racing, I follow all sorts of sport. And the Russian flag is actually, as we speak, banned in most sports by WADA, which is the World Organization. It's basically WADA, WADA.
Okay.
It's the doping organization, because as you know, Russian athletes and Russian sports have fallen foul to doping charges, both in the Olympics and in other sports.
The Russians cheating,
so forth.
The Russians cheating in the Olympics. That's hard to believe.
Cats and dogs living together. Exactly. But so what I'm getting at is that, for example, the Olympics, right? Winter or summer, the Russian team are not allowed, as they weren't in the last Olympics, to show up and carry their flag or wear their flag on their shirts or whatever. They literally have to go to the events as independents. They were going to be banned from the Olympics last time, but they were allowed in last minute if they didn't have a doping record or didn't have any, crossover with problems in the past in that field, so that the athletes who were, were abiding, so to speak, were at least able to compete, because that would be tragic, because Russia has produced fantastic athletes. Anyway, long story short, the FIA have also backed that doping ban. Now, I'm not saying that anybody's doping in Formula One, but that flag is controversial all the same. And I think to put it on an American car, well, what do you think the fans are going to say? You're an American, you tell us.
Well, let's put it this way. Do I want to buy a Haas shirt or a Haas hat or whatever with the Russian flag on it? I mean, look, yeah. I think for yeah, exactly. It's not
merchandise is not going to be like I wouldn't want to be the head of merchandise for Haas right now.
Yeah, but no,
how many hats have you sold? Two to Boris and Yadvik.
They say they were getting a run on the old hats.
Yeah, the old hats. Yeah, they're going up. They're classics.
I mean, look, the answer is obvious: is that it's going to turn some people off immediately and say, "There's no way I'm going to do that." There's going to be some that are. I mean, like my reaction, honestly, I saw it and I didn't recognize it at first because I just don't know the Russian flag at a glance. But what
was the movie where he goes thinking the Russian?
I don't know.
You know, was it Top Gear? And then you've got Sean Connery with his crazy Ivans. So maybe we'll have a crazy Ivan and we can steer ourselves out of trouble.
Well, look, I think it's either somebody's making a giant mistake, or Gene Haas is crazy like a fox, taking the money now and move on down the road in this transition year.
Yeah, and let me qualify what I just said. And what I just said was my personal opinion about how I feel. I feel that they've dropped the ball for all those PR reasons. But I'm not Gene Haas, and I'm not Gene Haas, who has invested for 5 years in Formula One at great cost while running a leading NASCAR team. And as we kind of got bits and bobs from Gunter last year, Gene was not going to keep bankrolling a last-placed team. And he said that quite strongly all through the year. And then it came to signing up for the Concorde Agreement, which was a 5-year deal for all 10 teams. And Gene either needed a pull plug then or sign up for 5 years. He signed up for 5 years. So he has said, I will keep Haas on the grid by contract for the next 5 years. So to get a Russian sponsor and a Russian young driver who was only 2 places behind Mick Schumacher, and while Schumacher has the big name, Nikita Mazepin is a handy driver and has done very similar to Mick on the way up. He's achieved a lot. He is a good driver all the way to the end of last season. And I know, forget the controversy for a sec, because that's just we could spend a whole 3 hours on that. But so my point is, maybe the wily old fox, Gene Haas, has said to himself, I can't develop the car. I don't want to spend my tokens. We're not going to improve dramatically in 21. You can't change the cars a great deal. They've got a better engine from Ferrari, but will it be good enough to move them ahead of Williams and AlphaTauri? And I honestly think he might be the guy who actually, with a smile on his face, come 2022, because he hasn't had to put the money in while they're losing.
Yeah, and we don't know, because what if they've got something up their sleeve for 2022, sponsor-wise or whatever-wise, and this is a 1-year deal? Who knows? And actually, I didn't see the contract on that I remember. Is it a multi-year deal for this sponsorship?
It is a multi-year deal, but really, it's interesting. I'd like to somebody like somebody to kind of an investigative journalist, to kind of come up with what that deal really is. And as you know, Russian business dealings are not well known by many people, and so it's a bit cloak and dagger. We don't get to hear about it in terms of actual investment. But there's no question that Gene wouldn't give his car quite literally to one name besides his own unless it was a pretty substantial deal. So I would pretty much count on the fact that Mazepin comes with a title sponsorship of money as well as the driver.
Yeah, I think that the contract just states multi-year. It doesn't say how long, and who knows what that means, right? So,
yeah.
Well, they also had a multi-year contract with Rich Energy, but that worked out too. So,
I mean, what if they do what they did in Australia when they first bounced out and got 2 6 places or 6 then you might buy a Russian hat, but
yeah, we'll see. This is going to be really interesting to watch, and we are going to go deep dive on this because we're going to get some other folks, some experts beyond our expertise, and we're going to do either a podcast, a separate, or we're going to have more on the show. We'll decide on that.
Well, what we want to do is we want some fans' input. So feel free to either text us, tweet at us, whatever, and get us your opinion, because this is an American concern.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want to find out what the fans think about this. So, if you're listening.
And we're going to get Dave O'Neill involved. Unfortunately, he's away racing in Barber this weekend. But Dave O'Neill, former team manager since 2017, since the launch, and who left the team a couple of years ago. I'm sure he'll have some interesting input, whether it be personal or whether it be actual insider knowledge on it.
I know. We called Dave a little while ago, a couple hours ago, and he picks up, and I can hear cars going around the track, and I said, "Hey, Dave, how's it going?" He goes, "Well, we're in the race. We got 3 laps to go. Can I call you back?"
Yeah. He didn't tell you who's driving.
Yeah. I said, "Yeah, I guess so. You can call me back." Oh God.
I think he's having an awesome time. He's been in Formula One for so long, where it's all so regimented, and I think he's enjoying tracks like Barber and Sebring and all these American places, and he's looking after some young guys and putting his knowledge to good work. So
yeah.
Good on him.
All right, well, let's take a break. You listen to Speed City, and we'll be back after these messages.
Hello to everyone, this is Gunther Steiner, this is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. Gunther Steiner bringing us back. And speaking of Gunther Steiner, the new Netflix Drive to Survive, Formula One Drive to Survive, the trailer is out. And it features...
Who cares about the trailer? When's it start?
What did they say, March 15th? So, what, a week away?
You know what? I think this is going to be a really, really interesting year, not just because of Netflix, but because of the pairings we've got this year. It really, I don't think we've really I don't think it's really sunk in.
Oh.
The human changes that have gone on. Forget the cars. We know the cars aren't going to change that much. So I'm really, and this has always been my favorite interest in Formula One, is the people and the head-to-heads. And there's so many good ones this year.
Oh, dude, this year I am so excited about what all is going on. I mean, there's so many sub-stories, right? You know, can Mercedes do what they do? Is the Ferrari engine going to help them and everybody else that runs their engine, including Haas F1? I mean, you could go on and on and on. It's going to be a fantastic season, and I can't wait for March 28th.
And can McLaren with a Mercedes engine perform
I know.
their third place?
I mean, you could rattle off the top 10 stories and go, which one of these is the best?
Right.
But and in fact, you know what? I think let's go to Red Bull first, Jonathan. Let's talk about Red Bull because we haven't yet, and we've got some clips and some discussion that we want to have about Red Bull. And I guess the number one big story going into this year is pretty obvious, and that's Sergio Perez as the new driver, replacing Albon.
You're straight into it. Red Bull is probably, in many ways, the most interesting of all. The reason being, Verstappen at 22 or 23 now is a proven winner. He was pretty much, whenever he finished last year, he was on the podium. So that's worth thinking about.
Yeah.
So he's ready to win full time. And Red Bull, as we saw at the end of last season, are ready to go for the championship now. We complained, one of the stories that ran through last year was Albon not cutting it compared to Verstappen, and therefore not allowing Christian Horner and the team to go for the team's championship because Albon was getting 7th and 8th while Verstappen was getting constant podiums. Now, I still think that Verstappen is that far ahead, but the real test will be now with Perez, who is a seasoned plus 30 Formula One driver with over 100 Grand Prix to his name. He knows...
And a win.
And he knows what the struggle has been like with Force India, having good competitive material. Remember, he started at McLaren, so he's always been there or thereabouts. And I really think his wise old head and his ability to work with the team will be second to none. And I really do think it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how the younger hot shoe gets along with Perez. And what we said about Perez last year is, how does he not bring it home every time?
Yeah.
And that is what you need, and that's what Red Bull needs. And just if Verstappen, Perez gets the better of Verstappen, we'll see how mentally strong the boy is.
Wow. Yeah, you know, it's so funny. As you're saying that, I was just thinking he's going to be a good teammate. He's really great. He's really fast, but he's not as fast as Verstappen. But I don't know that. I don't know if he's as fast as Verstappen. We don't know that.
And the truth is, in today's Formula One, with who's coming up, like Mick Schumacher and so many others, this is it. This is it for Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
He's gonna finish out his career here, and he's with a team that can bring him a world title. They've got 4 with Vettel. They just need to find that sweet spot with Adrian Newey and the team. And I think 22, like everybody else, is when it'll all start to come together for them. But unfortunately for them, so too is the same story for everybody trying to do the same thing.
God, you're right. You're so right. This is such a fantastic story. I'm so excited to see this happen. See Perez and Verstappen on this team. I'm really excited. But hey, let's play the clip that we've got of Sergio Perez in a Red Bull uniform. Let's hear from Sergio.
I'm just looking at my name, you know, and that car is something very special. Driving the new car, the car that we're gonna drive this season, it's always a very special moment for all the team. You know, they've been working so hard all throughout the year, you know, and through the winter. So to finally go on track with that car. It's quite an emotional day, and we're looking so much forward to it. And I have to say that I can see the potential of it. It takes a lot of time to be 100% comfortable, and I expect myself to be doing changes in the first 5 races of getting very comfortable with the car. But I have to say that we've done a lot of progress on that. We've changed the seat. We have just belts. Every time we're doing something different, so that's priority to get me comfortable with it. So when we go to Bahrain, we're ready to kick some ass. I think the goal is to win. It's obviously a process to it. We have to get on top, and hopefully the car is good enough for that. But we have to wait and see. You know, Mercedes had a good advantage on the team last few years. So hopefully this season we are able to close the gap and give them a hard time.
I like the beginning of those videos because the rest of it, he's just kind of saying the team line. But at the beginning, you hear what he said? He said, I'm looking at my name on the car. And you could hear the excitement in his voice about how excited he was to be on a team that's competing like this.
You know, another thing I was thinking of when he was talking there, I mentioned that he's been with McLaren, he's been with Force India, and he's now with Red Bull, all 3 of which are English teams. And I was thinking of Dave O'Neill. You know, it takes for a Mexican driver or a Spanish driver or, you know, somebody who isn't English, it takes an understanding of how a team at the top level works. And Red Bull are a good example. You know, they're very professional, but they are a very English team run by Christian Horner. I know, yes, that the ownership is German and Austrian, but I think, you know, primarily he knows how to work with 3 different teams now. And so that's a huge amount of experience. Verstappen was born at Milton Keynes, I think. I think he was in a cradle. I think he was in a cradle in Vettel's old car. Yeah, he's
in a manger?
Yeah, he was in a manger. So some of his fans would think so, yes.
Yeah.
Well, the barn door is certainly open and the Red Bull is out. That's for sure.
Oh, nicely played, Mr. Green. Very nice. All right, well, we got a couple more clips. Let's play this clip from Max Verstappen. It's just a short one, but let's hear from Max Verstappen.
To be honest, at the end of the day, it's all about just giving you feedback and try to work together as good as you can. And Sergio has been in F1 now for a while, so I think he has proven himself that you know, he's a good point scorer. And I hope that as a team, you know, we can make it difficult for Mercedes especially, because I think they still are the favorites. So yeah, I just hope as a team and together with Sergio we can score those points.
So I didn't hear
very
even
diplomatic.
It was, but also I did not hear a single little even a twinge of worry, like competitive worry, if you know what I mean.
No, and I think that is the beauty of Verstappen. He is the pure racer. He so believes in himself. He always has. I mean, goodness, didn't he not win on his first race or something ridiculous for Red Bull?
I don't remember, but yeah, incredible.
Yeah, he won in Spain. He won in Spain, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you know, he exudes confidence a la Hamilton almost. And that's put him in good stead because he drives like he talks. I don't think he will be intimidated by Perez unless Perez does an Alonso. What does that mean, you say? Well, Alonso, as you remember, is a real operator behind the scenes. He gathers the team around him, and you know,
a sneaky bastard is what he is.
Well, all right, yes, okay. Is that a Spanish expression I haven't heard of?
That's a good old South Texas expression.
But he is. He's a manipulator, and he did it at McLaren, where he and Lewis fell out very quickly, and it turned horribly bad. And this has that potential. I don't think Perez is like Alonso in that respect, but I think he will definitely keep his cards close to his chest, and I think they'll go about their business a bit like Webber and Vettel, which is Horner will be trying to make them work together, and you know, Perez is faster than you,
yeah.
Or Verstappen is faster than you, and I think both of them are headstrong enough where I think Horner's going to be in that position again, where he's going to have to let the dogs off the lead and let them go, but he may need to rein them in at the end of the season if the championship is close. And I'm talking about the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, right. And
or if one of them gets a significant lead and therefore needs the backup of his teammate.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. And look, Sergio Perez is in that spot in his career. He won a race last year. However he did it, he won a race, right? He's done fantastic. He has proven that he is a great driver, but he's at the end of his career, roughly, and so he's probably going to be a great teammate because he's not going to push too hard in the wrong time or whatever and crash both cars out. So I think it's going to be a really, really great combination. And I don't know how long it'll last, but I really think it's going to be a perfect combination for Red Bull this year. And look, let's face it, they've changed the rules. And one of the big rules that they've changed for this year, which is not that many, is they've changed the floor, right? They've changed the floor of the car. And the floor of the car is a dramatic part of the aerodynamics of a car. And who's better than Red Bull at aerodynamics, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
And they've got very different cars. So, because I'm thinking Red Bull versus Mercedes, right? Red Bull's got that rake, and Mercedes does not have that. And that tapering of the car at the back, right, of the floor, at the back of the car is going to be a really interesting. You can see it in that shot right there, but the tapering of the car at the back, it's going to be really interesting to see how Red Bull deals with that. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's enough advantage to give us a level playing field between Mercedes and Red Bull. Now, I did notice during Mercedes' launch of their car, you couldn't see that part of the floor very well. Purposefully, they're going to wait till the Bahrain test next week. So,
right, and a lot of the teams have not, when they launched, did not put the tapered new back on because A, time, and B, they don't want the opposition to see how they're doing it.
Exactly.
So yeah, and a lot of these launch pictures we're showing, if there are real boffins wearing John Massengale's anorak out there, we are aware that some of the pictures we're showing you may well be dated because we just get what the team send us, and they're not going to give us the really good stuff until they break cover.
Hey, it's aerodynamics.
Well.
It is very
aerodynamics. They're going to break wind in Bahrain. Now that's not often I thought I'd get that into a sentence.
There's a tweet for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and take a break and and regather ourselves. All right. You're listening to Speed City live in Austin, Texas. Back after these messages.
I'm Jenny Gow from BBC F1. You are listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in for your Sunday night with Speed City. We are perilously close to the Formula One season, 2 weeks away. And, of course, we will be doing our pre- and post-race shows all season long, once again, going into our 4th season. And you can go to our website, speedcitybroadcast.com, to find out where you can hear that. It's on national radio, and we appreciate you tuning in. Go to our website and check it out. But, Jonathan, we have...
You hear that in the background? You hear that in the background?
Yeah.
AC/DC.
AC/DC, yeah.
Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell.
I was commentating on the lead singer of AC/DC Racing last weekend.
Are you serious? He was in Trans Am?
Yeah, in SVRA.
Oh, in
No,
SVRA.
he's in SVRA. He races in Historics.
I should have known better.
Cool.
The SVRA. I mean, it had to be, couldn't be Trans Am. Of course, there's been some, there's been a few guys that
He's good.
with a few rings in the bark for racing Trans Am, but that's pretty cool. What's his name?
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson. That's right. I should have known that. Being of the vintage I am, I should have known that. Hey, let me give out the phone number, 512-643-5483, 512-643-LIVE. You want to call in, and we do have a caller. Let me see. We have Mike calling in. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Mike.
Good.
Yeah, well, it's great to be back on with you.
There he is. Hey, Mike, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
We're doing good. What's going on tonight?
Put the load of Corvettes off all the way down through Naples, Florida. Everyone's happy to
You
get
haven't
their
dropped any off in
2021.
Austin for us.
Well, you know, I haven't got the what do they call it? I haven't got the seniority to get to Texas lately. You know,
Well, I'll meet you on I-95. One late night.
Hey, now we're talking. You know, I-95. I'm up and down it. But listen to you guys. You know, still love what you do. I'm glad for the F1. My feelings are hurt that you're talking about that stock car stuff, but you know, someone has to do it. But I wanted to say, back on Sergio, I think he's one of the best guys going in F1 right now as far as personalities. I think he's a team player. I think he is an asset wherever he goes. He's a good driver, and I think he'll be really good for the team.
I'm glad you say that, because I think everybody feels that way. I think we do for sure.
Right.
You know,
and again, go ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. His following in Mexico has always been big, but now he's got a competitive car. He's always had good social media. He's always had good fans. I think he could well explode this year.
I think that again, I like the guys, you know, that go through kind of simply, not like the Vettels, the finger shaking and all of this, that, you know, the Alonsos. I mean, if he'd had a different piece of equipment under him, he made some I'm thinking sad choices. That, you know, he was a tremendous, or is a tremendous driver, but he just never had the luck fall under him that he needed to keep him up there at the top. But what I really called you guys about tonight, I know this is Speed City from Austin, Texas, celebrating COTA, but I bought 2 tickets to the Nashville Grand Prix.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, baby. That's going to be great.
And
I'm going to be there. I'm
F1?
doing Trans Am.
Jonathan's going to be there, yeah.
Hey, well, I'm going to do my best to see you. I'll wear my Speed City hat. I'll wear my Speed City hat.
There you go.
Good boy.
This is great. But don't we have a guy that didn't this one guy go through the guardrail last year and create a big controversy with his halo and all? Isn't he going to be an Indy driver this year?
Yes, sir.
He is. Dale Coyne Racing, sir.
There you go. I know exactly where it is on I-55. I've seen it.
You've driven by it a few times, probably in the truck.
I have. You certainly know me. I have. And again, you know, love what you guys do. It's really good to be in America talking this sport. It's so unusual. I've met a guy that was from Birmingham, England, and I told him, you know, about this, that, and the other, and he says, I've got 2 sons. I told him, this guy, he's a southern white boy from America, and he doesn't like NASCAR. He likes Formula One and the frickin' Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders! Oh, I love it! Yeah. I'm glad you like the Peaky. That's where I grew up. Is Peaky Blinders?
I did not know that the motorcycle company actually built firearms first.
Huh.
Yes.
That makes sense, though, if you think about it.
It does make sense.
Engineering?
Yes, it does. It does. And the problem with Peaky Blinders is the more I watch, the more I drink.
Well, that is a common problem for anything coming out of Britain.
Okay, we should get back on point and talk Formula One, so I'll let you guys go. Just wanted to say hey and let you know we're still out here listening.
Before you go, Mike, I want to put something in your noddle, as we say on Peaky Blinders, something in your head that will have you thinking up I-95. So we've talked Trans Am, and we've talked Nashville. As you know, I'm involved in Trans Am, and we have had more questions about the C8 Corvette and whether we could get it homologated
Ooh.
for Trans Am. And the
Well,
answer
I would
is
certainly.
they are working on it.
Ooh.
So think
Hallelujah.
about
Well, I know that, as you well know, Corvette Racing went through a complete shakeup with their management
Yeah.
when they went to this new vehicle. So I've been kind of watching and seeing and hoping, and absolutely, I would love to see it. Yes, please, please, please.
there you go.
All right, Mike, thank you very much for listening. And do look up Jonathan. Just give us a holler when you get down there to Nashville. And Jonathan will be in the booth, and maybe he'll try to come out and say hi.
Hey, I'm not an anti-swag guy. I like shirts, hats, the girl with
I'll
the
see what I
poster,
can
whatever
find.
it takes.
All right.
Thanks a lot,
you, guys.
Mike. Have a good evening. All right, well,
I'm not an anti-swag guy. I like that.
That's good.
That's that double reversal.
All right, we have a caller on the line. If this is the Adam, I think it is. I think we're about to go back into the Haas F1 discussion. But Adam, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hi, guys. It's good to hear from you all again. It's funny you all were talking about the C8 Corvette. I made my racing debut yesterday at the National Corvette Museum track.
Oh, sweet. What were you driving?
I was driving a Cadillac CTS, STS.
STS, okay.
For the King of the Heap racing series. It's a series where the cars can be no more than $1,000.
Right.
Kind of like 24 Hours of Lemons.
Basically, yes, except much shorter, just a kind of track day. So I saw plenty of C8s there. It was a good day.
Cool.
But no, actually, you guys were kind of talking about some of the driver dynamics, and a thought occurred to me. I have a concern for my favorite team this year. I know, like, the bromance between Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris was so hyped, and I'm worried that people are pushing too hard for Lando and Danny to have the same relationship. And I feel like it could happen, and it could be a good dynamic, but the expectations everyone has from Carlos and Lando are too high. And I don't know what y'all were thinking about from a team dynamic standpoint.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I think
go ahead,
you're
Jonathan.
absolutely I think you're absolutely right, Adam. It's a bit like having two Muhammad Alis in each corner of a boxing ring. You know they've got their quips, you know they've got their jokes, but they're not necessarily going to join each other center stage in a song and dance. I think they're going to be, in their own way, as irreverent and fun as they've always been, and they'll play up to the cameras, but I think there is a deep-seated seriousness. This is Lando's chance to really fight against one of Formula One's seniors. And there's no question that for Daniel, this has got to work. So, there might be a little levity now and again, but these don't think for 1 minute these guys aren't serious. So when the bell goes, to keep my boxing analogy going, I think we'll see two Cassius Clays, two Muhammad Alis coming straight at each other.
Well, as a Louisville native and resident, I appreciate the Muhammad Ali reference.
I visited his graveside last time I was in Louisville.
Yeah, it's probably about 5 minutes up the street from me.
Oh, wow.
Yep. It's a wonderful place. And I didn't know because I learned an interesting little factoid. They placed him on his side facing east to Mecca. There you go.
Huh.
And the rest of his family can be buried with him because he bought a big enough plot to put the rest of the family around.
You're full of insignificant trivia.
I am. That's what I do.
Adam,
but I bet you Adam knew that.
Adam, I want to ask you about the Haas F1 team, and I saw your comment on Twitter a while ago, and I think you and I are on the same feelings on this. But what do you think about the new livery and everything that's been going on with Haas?
Well, I'm going to do my best to channel my Zach Brown as opposed to Gunther Steiner.
I know what that means. No F-bombs.
And say I'm just disappointed. I mean, I really had huge hopes for Haas as a team, and I knew it was going to take time to build it up. But as an American, obviously, there's going to be a special place in my heart for an American F1 team. And, I thought the hiring of Mazepin was a misstep, given all his controversy. I just don't think they needed it after the Rich Energy debacle. I get it. They're a team trying to attract sponsors. They're not at the pointy end of the grid, so they got to do what they can. But after Rich Energy, I just felt like getting somebody with that much baggage was a mistake. And then to basically go and we knew what it was. He's a pay driver. His dad had bought him a share in an F1 team, and for them to go and then just slather the car in Russian paint, I wouldn't even want to be him. I mean, because you gotta think everyone is looking at you and your car and going, "Oh, well, that's cool." I mean, I guess Daddy bought you a car, and at least if you're going to get Daddy to buy you a car, it should be at the pointy end of the grid, like green Mercedes.
Yeah, I don't think Lance would have been too impressed if he'd have put Lance Mobile on the side of the Force India when he bought it.
Lance Mobile. I do like the choice of words, Adam. He slathered the Russian logo on the side of the car.
Are you aware, Adam, of the doping thing I was talking about, and how other sports will not allow the Russian flag to be flown at certain sports?
I was familiar with it. I knew a little bit about it. Honestly, my first thought, and this is, I won't get into my work background. My first thought was, surely are there some sanctions concerns? I mean, these Russian oligarchs, there's somebody connected with that company. They're going to find out that is evading sanctions at some point. I'm not even worried about the doping. I just hope that the Haas F1 team has really good accountants and auditors
and lawyers.
Well, if you think that something smells off by what you're insinuating there, it is a fertilizer company.
That's true. It's potash.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's the whole Four Seasons landscaping debacle, so that may not be too far off.
Hey, Adam, while we've got you, we just talked about Verstappen Perez. How do you think that dynamic? You just talked about Ricardo and Lando. What about that dynamic at Red Bull with Perez coming in?
I agree with you that it's a make or break time for Perez getting on in his career compared to the younger up and comers like Mick Schumacher and the like. The thing is, and this has been the whole time that I've been an F1 fan, Red Bull seems to function best when they have a clearly defined number one driver. And I don't know if they're willing to put that effort behind Perez unless he just comes out and just blows Max out of the water in the first couple races. And I don't always like Max's attitude, but he's easily one of the top three fastest drivers on grid. So I don't know. It's a big lift for Perez. We saw with back to Vettel and Weber, and Multi-21.
Yeah.
Red Bull has a number one driver. Mercedes claims they don't have a number one driver, but I mean, they do. Very few teams, with the exception maybe of McLaren, that and they seem to do pretty well for parity, but and Ferrari, I don't know. I don't see it. I think it's the best move for Perez, and it is the best chance he's going to have at getting a championship towards the end of his career. But Red Bull, they like having a number one.
Yeah.
Well, and you'd have to say on paper right now, Verstappen is that number one, because the only reason they got rid of Kvyat, the only reason they got rid of Gasly, the only reason they got rid of Albon was because Verstappen was the number one driver.
Yeah. Adam, thanks, buddy. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate your input. Our fans are incredibly knowledgeable, and we appreciate that. And thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right, we got to take a break. You're listening to Speed City live in Austin, Texas. Back after these messages.
Hi, this is Mario Andretti, and this is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Welcome back to the show. We're going to talk a little Aston Martin because they did their reveal, and what
I'm standing up.
Yeah, I know. I know, Mr.
It's got
London.
a British flag on that car.
Well, that car is gorgeous. I think that has been from a livery standpoint my favorite, with like hands down, not even close. So, I mean, look, let's face it. This is a really exciting time for Aston Martin with all the money that Stroll has put into it.
Yeah, there's no question.
And you know what, Jonathan? Sorry to interrupt you, because we've got a clip from Mark Gallagher that I want to play. If the producer he's shaking his head, he's got that one ready. So I want to play this because we had Mark on the show. And if you don't know Mark, he's been in Formula One for decades. He's an incredibly respected guy in the sport. But we had him on.
He's a sponsorship guy, and he's been around. Funnily enough, he was part of Jordan long before obviously they are what they are. So he's been around Formula One as a Formula One insider, raising deals and sponsorship deals for many years.
Yeah, and we had him on the show back in June. But he talked about this back then, about what was going to happen with Aston Martin. So let's hear from Mark Gallagher.
This amazing deal where in buying Aston Martin, he's then withdrawing the deal that they have with Red Bull Racing, and he's moving that across and rebranding Racing Point. And let's be completely clear, what Lawrence Stroll is doing here is he is creating the United Kingdom's answer to Ferrari. He's taking Aston Martin and he's saying, right, we're going to build a globally recognized car brand, rebuild a globally recognized sports car brand, and we're going to use Formula One as the showcase to do that. So, of course, McLaren have copied that kind of Ferrari model before, and Lawrence now plans to do that with Aston Martin. So,
yeah, that's really interesting. And I think we were talking last week, and I said, growing up in England, I mean, if you follow Formula One, especially if you're involved in the sport, you obviously try as a journalist not to have favorites, and you have to be, but I grew up in England, so you have to follow the teams, and Force India never meant anything. Jordan was good because they were the little team that could, and it was run by the owner, Eddie Jordan. Yeah. Force India with Vijay Mallya is such a flamboyant Indian was good. But again, it wasn't our identity. McLaren have always been kind of a bit standoffish and austere and engineer motivated. So that never got the fans necessarily all geared up unless you're an Andy P. And so I honestly, as I said to you the other week, this really does make me as an English fan of Formula One sit up and listen. Those colors are iconic. They are the British racing colors. Back in the day when motorsport began, the French were blue, the Italians were red, and the British were green, mainly with Bentleys back then, but also Aston Martins later on. And, this is, when I saw that British flag on the front of that nose cone and saw the colors, I was like, wow, that's my team.
Yeah. Brilliant. It is brilliant. No, but I love it. I think that, it stirs emotion. I mean, what do we want in our sport, right? I mean, it's just like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Formula One, trying to get emotion back in the sound and the mechanics of the new engine. Well, this is exactly the same thing. They're trying to stir emotion with that green. Besides the fact that it does look cool, but it's trying to stir emotion. And I think they've done it for sure for you, but I think they've done it for a lot more of us, and what about having James Bond, at the reveal with, what's his name? Craig, I forgot his name. The former Daniel Craig, the 007 actor at the launch. Awesome, right? I mean,
but what was Tom Brady doing there? I was a bit deflated by that.
They did have Tom Brady. Yeah, thank you, producer.
By the way, I'm here all week, and I'm available for bar mitzvahs and tippy waitresses. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess Brady. I don't know how that came to be. Brady's on and off been public about his Formula One fanness, but I don't know exactly. But they had him talking about the car and everything too. So maybe he has a couple of Aston Martins in his garage, his 30-car garage, probably.
Could be, yes.
But yeah,
I have to say, of all the launches I've seen, it was the most polished and slick. I think of the cars I've seen, I think it really is good. They also have an American sponsor in NetApp.
Yeah, that's right.
My brother-in-law is like the man at NetApp, in my opinion. And so, it's British, got NetApp. It's got a lot going for it.
Well, we've got an interview that I want to play. This is the guy, his name is Marek Reichman, and he's the executive vice president, but he's the chief creative officer, at Aston Martin and Aston Martin Lagunda. And so he probably had a lot to do with the emotional British racing green design that we saw. So let's hear from Marek Reichman.
Yeah, we are in Gaydon, the factory of Aston Martin in the Midlands, and we are launching today AMR21, which is our first Formula One car for 61 years. I mean, it is so exciting today to be unveiling the AMR21. It's been a journey in terms of the livery, creating the car. You're going to see something very special in the car when you see it on the grid. It's such an important moment for Aston Martin, beyond excitement for myself. Plus, I'm an F1 fan. Yeah, we are launching not just the AMR21 Formula One car, but we're also showing on that car a brand new wing. It's the 12th time we've reinvented the wing over our 108 years of history. We're using Formula One as our experimentation platform. It's an experimental graphic design of that wing. We show it on the F1 car, and then eventually it will feature in the broader world of Aston Martin. We've decided to launch AMR21 in green. Aston Martins have raced in green since 1922. It's always been part of our heritage, part of our makeup. It's expected in many ways, but we spent a lot of time, almost 12 months, defining the color, the right green on camera, and that green also goes onto our road cars as well. So it's a paint that we have to paint in the factories, not just on the F1 car.
Jonathan, I think it's John Deere green also, isn't it?
No.
You reacted.
How very dare you?
That's exactly what I was trying to get out of you. Was a visceral.
Listen here, Rimsky-Korsakov.
Who?
That's a British racing green color, I'll have you know. And you can't buy it in the shops, darn it.
Well, I grew up on a ranch, so I had to throw that in there.
It's very similar to John Deere, I'll give you that. But all comparisons after that are over.
All right, well, we are pretty much out of time. We got about a minute left or so, Jonathan. You know what? If we've got time, producer, do we have the clip of the gentleman, Allison from Mercedes F1?
Yes.
Because I want to play that clip. Let's play that right now because it talks all about the aerodynamics this year. See if he's ready.
The amount that the floor was changed by, although it won't look like a huge amount to someone who's not a real aficionado of the sport, anyone who does understand the sport a bit knows that the floors are where most of the aerodynamic efficiency comes from. And you don't have to cut them up very much before you destroy the goodness that was in them. And so these regulations were designed to destroy some of the goodness that was in them. And exactly how the regulation landed on each team, no one knows. We're a low-rate car. Everyone knows that we're a car that runs with the back of the car nearer the ground than, say, the Red Bull. Will these rules hurt a low-rate car more than a high-rate car? We don't know. We'll find out when we start racing them.
Because it's such an important clip, and go that was from Sky Sports. It's on their YouTube channel. Go check it out because think about how important that is for this, especially this coming up year with that new tapered floor. But thanks everybody for tuning in.
To round it up, yeah.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and thanks for our callers tonight. And check us out on our website and our social media. We do lots of stuff all during the week, and we will talk to you next Sunday night.
Happy trails.